As you guys just heard, Volkanovski has not been offered a fight against Topuria for UFC 305. And the reason why I'm even talking about this is because Ilia Topuria is being massively disrespected with fake narratives, fake rumors of him refusing to take fights against Volkanovski. I just showed you Volkanovski himself admitting that he has not been offered a fight against Topuria, and all of these people online are saying, oh, Topuria is refusing to have that rematch against Volkanovski. All of a sudden, Topuria is scared of Max Holloway, and I'm going to shut it all down in this video, and I'm also going to be showing you guys how actually Volkanovski is the one being delusional. And this pains me to say because I'm a massive Volkanovski fan. I'm a bigger fan of Volkanovski than I am of Ilia Topuria. I have to spread the truth, and I have to be honest, Volkanovski is the one being delusional. So now that I've showed you that Volkanovski has not been offered a fight against Topuria, and that it was all fake, all of this news from Joe Rogan saying, oh, Topuria is refusing to take a fight against Volkanovski at UFC 305. What kind of champion is this guy? It was all fake, right? Because I just showed you Volkanovski himself admitting that he's not even looking to come back and fight for UFC 305, and that he's looking to come back later in the year, and that he hasn't even been offered a fight from the UFC to fight Topuria at UFC 305. So all of that shit is bullshit. So all of these people online saying that Topuria is ducking Volkanovski and that he really doesn't want the rematch against Volkanovski, which doesn't even make any sense because Topuria just absolutely flatlined Volkanovski. And I'm also going to be talking about the first fight, man, because there's a lot of fake narratives about the first encounter between them, right? People are saying Volkanovski was winning the fight and all of a sudden he got caught, which yes, Volkanovski technically won that first round based on volume, but if you rewatch that fight and you look at the fight besides the stats and you look deeply into the fight, you will realize that Topuria was in control of that fight. Look, people before that fight were saying Volkanovski's leg kicks, Topuria is not going to be able to handle the low kicks. Who landed the more significant low kicks in the fight? Topuria did. Topuria landed a harder low kick than Volkanovski and even made Volkanovski do a Cinderella spinning dance. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of fake narratives about their first fight, and I know that some of it is coming from Alexander Volkanovski, and I understand why he has this kind of delusion. He's a fighter, but let's look at his most recent comments. So let's read this article from MMA Junkie. Alexander Volkanovski confident Max Holloway makes it look easy against UFC champ Ilia Topuria. And then Alexander Volkanovski is the only fighter to ever share the cage with both Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway, giving him a unique insight on the looming matchup between UFC champ and BMF champ, right? Although Volkanovski expected an immediate rematch with Topuria after dropping the belt, it appears Holloway has overtaken his top contender spot after claiming the BMF strap with an all-time knockout over Justin Gaethje at UFC 300 in April. Even with Topuria doing some posturing over the idea of fighting Holloway, there are solid odds it will ultimately come together this year. Now, this is actually a very interesting point, and I kind of agree with this because I think that Volkanovski is not going to be fighting Topuria next, and the reason why is because Volkanovski has said that he doesn't want to come back like until later in the year, and I don't know if the UFC really wants to hold Topuria for that long. Like, I think they want Topuria to fight in September, in August, so I don't really see Volkanovski fighting Topuria next unless the UFC just waits and Volkanovski, you know, they make Volkanovski versus Topuria for November, December. But in my opinion, that's a little bit too long, man. Topuria faced Volkanovski in February. Now, I understand from Volkanovski's point of view why he wants to take some time off, and I encourage it. But from Topuria's perspective, that's a lot of time off, you know, especially when he didn't really take that much damage against Volkanovski. So I think the UFC should skip Volkanovski altogether and make Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway for September, August, and then the winner of that could face Volkanovski in December. I think that would be the perfect outcome and the perfect situation for both Volkanovski and for Ilia Topuria. But let's keep reading. Common opponent Volkanovski isn't thrilled about this idea, mainly because Holloway will win and thus diminish the stakes of a future rematch with Topuria. So this is where Volkanovski's delusion begins. He doesn't want Topuria to face Max Holloway because he thinks Max Holloway is going to beat Topuria and therefore his rematch won't be as significant, which is complete delusion. So he goes on and says, I believe Max can go out there and make that fight look easy. Volkanovski told Fox Sports Australia, Topuria is a very dangerous and great fighter, but I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. And of course he caught me, right? So I can't really say much. Yeah, Volkanovski, you're absolutely fucking delusional. And Volk is being very delusional, and I think he's envious of Ilia Topuria, because before their first encounter, Topuria was talking so much shit that he was going to knock out Volkanovski and that he was going to make it look easy. You know, I remember Alexander Volkanovski was saying that he was going to humble him and that he was going to have to change his bio. And then after the fight happened, Ilia Topuria looks like a badass because he actually went out there and knocked out Volkanovski in the second round. And to be totally honest with you, the fight was easy for Topuria, guys. The fight was easy. And I know some of you guys are going to say, Volkanovski was winning. Volkanovski was winning. Delusion. Topuria was in control of that fight. Topuria had the knockout threat. It was just a matter of time before Topuria was going to land his right hand and knock out Volkanovski. And some of you guys are going to say, but Volkanovski was winning based on volume in that first round. He was clearly winning. No, man, that first round was very competitive. It's funny because before the fight, people were saying Volkanovski's low kicks were going to give Topuria so much trouble. And the one who landed the more significant low kick was actually Topuria in that first round, which was absolutely incredible. And I'm tired of people taking away the credit from Topuria. You can't just say that Volkanovski was winning against Topuria and then make the same excuse that the reason why Volkanovski didn't win is because he got knocked out by Islam Makhachev. You know, you have to be accountable. I'm tired of you guys. I'm fucking tired of the delusion. And this is crazy because I'm a hardcore Volkanovski fan. I like Volkanovski more than I like Ilia Topuria. But to be totally honest with you, I think Volkanovski is the cocky one. I think he's the delusional one. And if you go back and rewatch that fight, the one that was boasting, you know, celebrating every time he landed on Topuria, it was Volkanovski. He was the one smiling, celebrating when he landed that straight left hand. And then what happened in that second round? Topuria knocked him the fuck out. Badly. And Volkanovski can't come out and say, yeah, he's actually as good as he says he was. You know, he was talking so much shit. He actually knocked me out in the fight. Now I understand that Volkanovski's a fighter, right? He's not going to come out and say that he thinks that Topuria is the better fighter, right? Because they're going to have a rematch. And, you know, he believes himself. I completely understand that. But for him to come out and say that he believes that Max Holloway is going to easily beat Topuria is completely delusional when you beat Max Holloway, dominated him, and Ilia Topuria knocked you the fuck out. Now, this to me implies that Volkanovski thinks he was fucking knocked out because he just got caught and because he was coming off a knockout against Islam Makhachev way too soon, when that's not the reality. That's not what I saw. You know, Volkanovski looked great in the fight. I didn't see a Volkanovski that was timid. You know, I saw a Volkanovski that was confident. And it's kind of funny because now after the fight, Volkanovski wants to come out and say that he just wasn't feeling like himself, like it was an off night. Really? It was an off night? Because every time you landed anything significant on Topuria, you were celebrating. Does that look like someone that's having an off night? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. Now, I think Volkanovski is being delusional. And I just told you guys that Volkanovski was not offered a fight against Topuria at UFC 305. And that he's not even looking to come back that soon. So all of these fake narratives about Ilia Topuria have been fake all along, and the one who's being delusional and cocky has been actually Alexander Volkanovski. Now, let's read a little bit more. I need to show everyone I know I can do it. I know I can do it too. Also, and I'm also quite confident Max can too, which is why I didn't want him fighting Topuria before I did. Volkanovski is delusional. Volkanovski is delusional. And to be totally honest with you, he's never going to beat Topuria. He's never going to beat Topuria. And I'm tired of people saying that the only reason why Topuria won is because he landed that lucky punch. That's the way they talk about it. Like if Topuria didn't set up that combination. Like if that actually doesn't fucking require skill to do. You know, it's not a puncher's chance. It's not like they were scrapping and, you know, Topuria just landed that one punch that knocked out Volkanovski. It wasn't like Volkanovski was dominating the fight. Volkanovski was the one on the back foot. Topuria was the one imposing his will. Yeah, Topuria wasn't throwing as much as Volkanovski, so therefore Volkanovski was landing more and technically winning on the stats, on the scorecards. But if you rewatch that fight, you know Topuria was in control of that fight, and it was just a matter of time before Topuria would actually catch him. And that's exactly what happened. Now, Volkanovski weigh all the credit from Topuria's win and saying, Max Holloway's going to beat him easy. Really? Because you beat Max Holloway easily in that trilogy, and you think Topuria can't do the same? So who's the one actually being cocky here? Is it actually Ilia Topuria? Because Ilia Topuria is talking shit. Yeah, he talks shit. He's selling the fight. But who's the one coming out and actually doing it? Topuria is. So you have to give the guy his flowers. Now, I understand Volkanovski is a fighter, but I truly believe that he's in a bad mental state and that his coaches have a role to play in this. They're probably a bunch of yes men. They're probably saying Volkanovski was doing amazing and then he got caught. Which is true. Which is true. Volkanovski was doing great. But it wasn't that he just got caught. He got fucking set up, which requires skill. Now, Volkanovski can't just say that and say he had an off night. You can't just say, oh, I just got caught, but I also had an off night. No, it's either one or the other. So did you have an off night, or were you actually doing good, but you just got caught? Which one is it, Volkanovski? Which one is it? And Topuria is getting massively disrespected. Like, all of a sudden people think that Topuria fights the same way that Justin Gaethje does. And that because of that, Max Holloway is going to beat him. When one, Max Holloway has to move down to 145 pounds. We've seen Max Holloway struggle with shorter opponents. You know, Max Holloway doesn't have a crazy power at 145 pounds. Ilia Topuria has amazing boxing defense and has a power advantage and has a grappling advantage. So there's many ways that Topuria could beat Max Holloway. And all of a sudden people are saying, oh, Topuria's scared of Max Holloway. Bro, no one's fucking scared of Max Holloway. No disrespect to Max Holloway. He's a fucking badass, a BMF. But nobody's scared of Max Holloway. And Topuria is not scared of Max Holloway. Josh Emmett is fucking more scary than Max Holloway. And it's kind of funny because people are saying, you know, Topuria couldn't knock out Josh Emmett, therefore he can't knock out Volk. He can't knock out Volk. Fucking casuals. That's how people ended up looking like. When I told you, Topuria was always a bad stylistic matchup for Volkanovski. And nobody wants to give Topuria his credit. And it's kind of funny because we complain all the time about how UFC fighters are so boring, how they don't sell fights. And the moment somebody like Topuria comes in and actually talks his shit and backs it up, right? That's the most important part. Not like Colby Covington. Topuria talks shit and he backs it up. The moment somebody like this comes into the promotion, people are fucking pissed and being all sensitive. When everything Volkanovski has been saying has been absolutely delusional. You know, okay, if you think Topuria is so fucking easy, then fight him in August. Why do you want to wait so long if you just got fucking caught? No, because you know that you actually need to recover properly. And you actually, you know, this is your last opportunity to get your belt back. And I hope the UFC ignores Volkanovski and they say, you know what? Okay, Volkanovski, you don't want to fight Topuria in August, September? That's fine. We'll make Topuria versus Max Holloway. You could fight the winner of that in December or January. So you could have more time to recover. Because Volkanovski right now doesn't have any leverage. He doesn't have any leverage. You're not the champion. And it's also not fair for Topuria to wait that long to defend his belt. You know, the guy didn't really take any damage against you. And like I said, I'm tired of this false narrative that Volkanovski was doing so great against Topuria, which he was. He was doing his usual Volk self, and he just finally met his match. He finally met somebody that had a massive power advantage over him, that had better boxing and striking than him, and he finally, you know, paid the price. He finally paid the price. So it's time to give Ilia Topuria his flowers and actually give him the credit he deserves. He's actually selling these fights. There's a reason why you're more excited for Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria. And Volkanovski has been the one being delusional this whole time. And in this video, I proved a lot of things. I proved that Volk was being delusional. I proved that, you know, the rumor of Ilia Topuria refusing to fight Volkanovski at UFC 305 was fake. He was never offered a fight against Volkanovski. And Volkanovski himself admitted that he had never been offered a fight against Topuria for UFC 305 and that he's not looking to come back that soon, that he wants to come back later in the year which makes sense, right? It makes a lot of sense from Volkanovski's point of view, but because of that, the right move is to make Topuria versus Max Holloway for August, September, and then the winner fights Alexander Volkanovski.